Hey, what's going on, crew? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Serrano, and today we're going to be talking about the UMIDIGI Power 7 Max. And I got my hands on this device about 7 days ago, so I wanted to kind of do a overview of what I think about it so far. And my opinions and thoughts are honest and completely transparent since I purchased it with my own money or whatever. But make sure you guys stay locked in with me because we're going to be talking about the UMIDIGI Power 7 Max. So make sure you guys stay locked in. Alright guys, so after about a week, which is like 7 days or something like that, that I've been using this thing, I've really been enjoying it. But the user experience is really cool because it comes with a case, the user guide, the 10-watt charging brick, as well as the two-way Type-C cable. So I thought this was a really cool unboxing experience. It also comes with the pin that you can remove the SD card slot and expand the storage up to 256 gigabytes. You can also move apps, files, but make sure you guys stay locked in. But if you're already part of the crew, so let's just jump into this quick overview after I've been using this thing for about 7 days, and I've been really impressed with the build quality because it has dual mics, one at the top, one at the bottom. And one of the things I did notice is when I was let's talk about phone calls, right? So it doesn't get extremely loud when it comes to the speakers or whatever, but you can hear through the speaker when you put it on a speakerphone, or if you put it up to your ear, you still will be able to hear the caller on the other end. Just depends on who you're talking to, because there's some people who talk with a real soft voice, and there's other times when people talk with a real strong voice. So in the case where I was talking to my girlfriend, she has like a really soft voice or whatever, so it was kind of hard for me to hear with the speakers. So most of the time I would use Bluetooth or whatever, but this thing does have a dedicated button that you can map 3 different ways. You could double tap it, you could hold it, or you could long press it and get 3 different shortcut options, which is pretty cool. But another thing that I really like about this device is the overall feel in the hand. It feels really solid. But do me a favor, if you're enjoying the video so far, I just want to remind you to quickly hit the like button, show your support and appreciation, and just type down below, I'm still here, so I know you're still kicking it with me and rocking with me, okay? But this thing has some really solid features that I want to get into, and I did use this thing for GPS capability because I use Google Maps and I use Waze a ton. So this thing was actually pretty reliable. It did drop a few signals here and there, but for the most part it was really solid when it came to the accuracy of the GPS, because I needed to get from point A to point B when I'm using a smart device. So this thing will have the sensors in it: the fingerprint sensor, facial recognition, light sensor, accelerometer, compass. Doesn't have gyroscope, but for gaming it actually has ultra smooth frame rate and high graphics. So I thought that was something that was pretty cool because it's paired along with the UNISOC T610, which is actually a pretty decent processing chip. But I didn't have any lag issues with the 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of internal storage. So I thought that was something that was pretty cool with the 12 nanometer processing chip clocked in at 1.8 gigahertz frequency. So gaming on here was pretty solid. Also the viewing angles were pretty decent, and the screen was plenty large because it was a 6.7 LCD IPS display at 20:9 aspect ratio. And it also does have a 720 by 1650 HD plus display. So it has 269 ppi for medium density screen quality, a water drop notch as well. So those are pretty much the main features with this device. But I want to kind of talk about the battery life that I was getting. But the battery life with the 10,000 milliamp hour battery was insane. I was getting like 10 to 11 hours screen on time. I was getting like 3 days standby time, 4 days standby time if I wasn't using this thing. But if I was using this thing, I was getting like 2.5 days altogether when it came to the battery life, which was pretty crazy. So I was really impressed with the overall battery life that I was getting, because this phone packs a huge battery. It's kind of a chunky dude, and it has a really nice feel in the hand, and it doesn't feel too heavy or anything like that. The build quality also feels pretty sweet in the hand, and the usability and user experience as well was really straightforward and really smooth. So it didn't have anything that was holding it back as far as the processing speeds, because obviously it was a little bit of a chunky guy, but other than that, the fingerprint sensor worked every single time. We also do get facial recognition on board. This thing does have a radio built right in, so you can actually listen to the radio without plugging in a pair of headphones, which was something that was pretty cool. The dedicated Google Assistant button, or change it to any 3 options of your own choosing, like I mentioned before. So this thing did have a lot of things going for it, but one of the things that I did notice is that they touted a 48 megapixel, but when I went inside of the settings to look at the photos that I was taking, it kept saying that my photos were coming out at 12 megapixels or whatever. So I guess that this thing does do pixel binning, but on the front we are getting a 16 megapixel camera, which was true to the specs based on the like resolution that I was getting inside of the settings. But photos did come out pretty good in the nighttime. They were a little bit blurry and lacked a little bit of detail, so there were a little bit of shadows on there when it came to the low light. But overall, I was really impressed with the still photography, even in low lighting conditions. My face and the portraits gave me like a smooth skin effect most of the time. But you can get some really good shots on here, and it captures really good settings. When you get good light, you will get some better details as well. But you can see right here, this is kind of what it looks like when you're using the rear camera in low light situations. And obviously it does pretty good job when it comes to the overall cameras in the daytime. Hey, what's going on, crew? So this is the front-facing camera of the UMIDIGI POWER 7 Max. So I'm actually surprised that it's actually capturing the sun. It's not really capturing my face too well. But you can see right here, this is the front-facing camera on the UMIDIGI POWER 7 Max. Hey, what's going on, crew? So this is the UMIDIGI POWER 7 Max. Rear camera looks. Let me know if you can actually hear me right now, because the waves are crashing against the beach. But like I said before, if you have enough light and you're taking photos with this guy, you will be impressed with the overall details and images, because the colors are going to look really good and you're going to get a pretty decent color palette. But when you go on low light, that's when you will see a little bit of green on your photos and a lack of detail with a little bit of shadows. But if you just use it during the daytime, you won't have any issues with that. It does have a night camera, which is pretty cool, macro camera and wide angle camera to go along with the 48 megapixel camera that they do tout on here. But obviously, like I said, it does pixel bin, so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. This thing does have really good Wi-Fi connection. It also does have really sweet Wi-Fi calling, so you could do Wi-Fi calling Bluetooth 5.0 for really good, clear, crystal clear headphone quality when you're doing the Bluetooth headphones. It has NFC on board, which is another thing that I think is pretty cool, because you could do your mobile payments. And it does have Android 11 on here running straight out of the box, which is something that's pretty cool. So the Android 11 Red Velvet Cake is something that is a pretty decent software that people don't have too many issues with. But the main features of this device are going to be the huge display, the 6 gigabytes of RAM with really good storage at 128 gigabytes. We also do have a nice processing chip on here, and the battery life is extremely durable and long, so you're going to get some really good battery time on here. Roughly you're going to get about 2 days most of the time. You also will get the choice between not red, but blue, gold, and black when it comes to the colors, and it does say Beyond Dreams on the back of it, and it has a nice feel in the hand. And this material on the back doesn't scratch or get chipped or anything easy. It doesn't get greasy either, so that's something that's pretty cool. So you could use it pretty much without a case, but just throw a screen protector on there, or just be really careful and put it in like a storage pouch when you're if you don't want the screen to get scratched from, you know, day-to-day usage. But this thing does have voice over LTE. Like I said, it has Wi-Fi calling for really crisp, high quality phone calls. You know, most of the time I could hear the person I was talking to on speakerphone even when I was in a car, but the volume just was a little bit lower than I wanted it to be. But when I threw on this thing on the headphone jack, the sound quality was really good. So it had some really good sound quality when it came to putting the headphone jack on this thing inside of the car with the auxiliary cable. It's not going to be the brightest panel in the world outdoors, but it might have a little bit of glare when you're looking at the screen outdoors and stuff like that. So I just kind of wanted to mention that. But for the price of a phone that's like this, that's $220, it's going to have some really cool features like that radio mode without the, you know, you don't have to plug in the headphones. That's something I thought was pretty cool about it. I like the build quality because you could stand up the phone flat on the surface while it's standing up, because it has the flat top and bottom. Dual microphones are pretty cool on this guy as well. It's just a really friendly, smooth interface. But if you found this video helpful, do me a favor. I encourage you to subscribe and get notified for more videos, as well as want to remind you to hit the like button, and I'll get right back with you. I'll show up in the comment section. I'll answer all your questions, and I'll check you guys later. But in the meantime, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, depending where you are. Have a great night. Later, group. Peace.